Hi everyone, this is a tutorial on how to make a child's crossbody bag. I have with me here a piece of much thicker fabric than just the cotton we've been using for the backpacks, and this piece is measuring 52 by 29 centimetres. That can be a centimetre out either way. This is just a sample piece of fabric from a sample book, and that's why we're using this exact size for this particular tutorial. Pin your label in place like you did with the backpack, about 4 centimetres up from the bottom of the bag, and then just fold it in half, right sides facing, like so. Then you would stitch this closed along these two edges, down the side and down the bottom, and overlock it all in place. Once you've done that, you would then work out where the halfway point is on the bag, make a little mark, and pin your little loop, your little button loop in place as I have done it here. Now, to make that button loop, you'll need a piece of fabric 10 centimetres long by 3 centimetres wide, and all you need to do is just fold the outside edges together like so, so one into the middle, the other into the middle, and then both in half again, and then you just simply stitch down there with some straight stitching, or you can do the zigzag, whatever you like, a decorative stitch, it's up to you. Once you have done that, you also need to take a topper piece of fabric, and I've chosen these pussycats. Now, because this is a bigger pattern, I'm going to put a deeper topper on this particular bag, but the topper can be anywhere from 7 centimetres to 10 centimetres, depending on the pattern. But it needs to be exactly the same width as that piece of fabric. And what you would do with this one is separately, you also want to stitch that down the side. You do not have to overlock this piece because that seam will be encased later. While it's still flat, I tend to just turn the bottom edge of that fabric up so that it's already pressed in place for when I want to turn the bag through later. So the next thing to do is to pin the top piece around the top of your bag, but you want to pin it with the wrong side of the fabric facing and the right side of the topper facing, because you're going to turn it over this way. So once it is stitched in place, you will turn it in on itself. Make sure also that your little button loop is in the right place, so it goes on first and then the topper goes over the top of that. You have an option here of either just turning it straight over like I have here, or you can turn it so that you have a little lip of the lining fabric, the topper fabric showing. Either way is fine. And then all you do is to pin it down into place like so. I'll show you what I mean by this little bag here, which is actually a finished bag. So once you've sewn it on, turn it around, one row of stitching at the top here, one row of stitching on this side, very close to the edge, and then you would just place your button on the middle there as well. Now, adding the straps. There are several different ways you can make the straps as well. One is that you can just take a piece of fabric, a reasonably stiff fabric, because this is quite a stiff fabric we're using for the bag, and what you could do is you can actually cut a piece. This is about 95 centimetres long and it's about 8 centimetres wide. So just press in the two corners, the two outside edges, and then fold it in half again so that you end up with a strap like this. So you don't have to worry about trying to turn it through or anything later. And then just stitch around on either side of the strap to give a nice finish like this. The other alternative is if you have some webbing, you can actually take the webbing and stitch it onto the fabric. And to do that, you would just turn one side of the fabric in, stitch the webbing on, turn the other side in and stitch the other side of the webbing on, so that it ends up as a double coloured and maybe slightly less thick. So if you've got a very thick fabric, I would suggest you do it that way. Once you have your strap finished, you attach it to your bag on the outside like this. So I would advise you to actually sew the bottom part of the strap in place when you sew down the topper of the bag, and then you are going to sew the strap in place with a flag box at the top. So I would start here and go straight across, and then down the side, up to this corner, down this side, and up to this corner, and that will give you this finish here, which is a nice, strong and sturdy finish.